Hello and welcome to another episode of the World Class Real Estate Podcast. My name is Marwan. I'm joined by Mr. Ian Macbeth. How are you, pal?
I always say, I've noticed every time you ask me that question, I was going, yeah, I'm all right. And then I was kind of thinking about Rob Brady's no more fine on Friday that you put. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't just go, yeah, I'm all right every single time. I'm tired. I'm frustrated that I'm still injured after my race. And I've got Snowdon on the 17th of May, and it's starting to get me down that I can't run at the moment. So that's how I am. I'm pent up frustration from not being able to physically go out there and enjoy the sunshine and start running. Outside of that, yeah, I'm all right.
It's funny. It's funny you should say that. And we've never been so organised with the podcast, so we're recording this pretty far ahead from when it's actually gonna be released. Just if the listeners are wondering about dates and what have you, then I've always had this thing. Whenever I ask anyone how they are, it's the thing on the phone, isn't it? How are you? When people say not so bad, I'm like, oh, it drains my energy. Like the negativity in that word. I've always got to be, yeah, I'm good, or yeah, I'm really good, or all right, it's not so bad, but
Yeah.
could be more positive.
It's kind of you, yeah. I guess you just say it as a response, like whatever
Yes.
your thing is, don't you? But there's definitely a place for actually taking a pause and thinking about it,
Mm.
even if you don't answer the person, but actually reflecting, yeah, what am I like today? Yeah, I'm today. I'm a little bit tired because the kids have been up. Or the little one was up last night, so it was a bit of a late night, two back to back. I had her in the bed with me the night before, so I didn't get any sleep. And I'm frustrated that I can't run. But I've had some great work meetings over the last sort of 4 weeks, I would say. Um, Always some challenges in there as well, but some really good new types of work meetings, which has been good and exciting. And yeah, from a running point of view, obviously everyone knows it's a big part of my life. I'm doing this trilogy at the moment for charity for the Irish lung fibrosis challenge, really niche charity that's quite close to one of my good friends. And we've set out the stall that we're going to run these three big events in a 9 week window, and one of them is the Snowdonia 100K. And at the moment, I can't even run. So, and that could be like 4 or 5 weeks without running. So basically, I'm going to run Snowdon 8 times and do 100K, and I've got no training to go with it. So
And are you going to be able to do it?
I don't know. Honestly, don't know. It all depends whether this like spasm in the outside of my shin just releases basically, and if it does release, will it go again? Because it's just a it's like someone smashing you in the shin with a sledgehammer when you run, basically. So
Yes.
it's unrunnable. But yeah, we'll get to the day and we'll see what happens, basically.
And would you try and do it even if you've not done any training, not run between the two events?
If I haven't trained, I'm not overly fussed because I'll just get round. I would like to think it's just specific hill training. You associate it with business. I link it back to agency. If you're going in to do something new in your business, if you're going to start a mortgage business, but you're not done any research into it, you're not going to do it very well. And it's the same thing with running. If you're going to go and do a mountain race after you've just done a flat 105-mile race, you're not going to do very well. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's just one of those things. A bit unfortunate, but that adds to the challenge of why I do this stuff. Really, is to find out if you can do it. So
But
we'll
you,
see.
you meant you mentioned right at the start about Rob, let's get rid of fine. Actually, and I always take the positive view on it, but actually it is all right to say sometimes, actually, I'm struggling with this or whatever, because, and that will have been Rob's point on social media, I would imagine, to say when to talk it through, all of that, um, rather than just bottling up any problems that you've got and all of that sort of stuff. So that would be the thinking behind that no doubt. So actually, as you say, taking a minute to pause and actually give a proper response rather than your go to is probably quite important. But what we wanted to talk about today on the podcast is more in terms of some of the noise on social media recently about agents' earnings. We've talked quite extensively on the podcast about profit not being a dirty word. So some of the talk's been around money. Is money a bit of a dirty word in agency, do you think, Ian?
I think it is in the UK in general. I think
Yeah.
it's a UK thing. I think we're a bit sort of prim and proper to be talking about money. I mean, I remember one of the first conversations I had when I started agency, when I got my first pay rise, in fact, was we don't talk about salaries. So there's almost like I think you would have been have a disciplinary if you discussed salary like within the office. And then no one knew what anyone earned, for the rest of the time that I was in agency, even up to the point where I didn't know what people at director level were earning, when I was a director. Um, so I think it's a bit of a secret sort of hush thing from salary point of view. And then I think now social media has obviously erupted in the way that it's erupted, especially in a state agency. The question is, what do you share and what don't you share?
Mm.
With pie charts and with awards and now with money, like where's the line of what you share, or is it a case of how you share it? I don't know. Maybe that's the bit that we haven't quite got right yet, because
Mm.
some people are a bit funny about it. Some people do turn their nose up. Sometimes it is show offy. Sometimes it's celebratory, but other people take it as show offy or jealousy or
Mm.
um, yeah, you never talk about you're not never, there is people that talk about the negative side of it, but 99% of it is people showing off the best thing rather than
Yes.
the 1% that do actually talk about the worst thing. So yeah, to answer your question long-windedly, I think it is a bit dirty in the UK, but I don't necessarily think that's right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think necessarily it's right. And interestingly, we're probably coming at this from two different angles because a lot of your celebratory comments and post is agent specific, whereas if I was doing it as a typical estate agent, I mean, we would recruit, but we're not on a recruitment drive, particularly from the self-employed side of things. I would probably be more worried what clients would think about showing off about record months and what have you. We've just had a record sale. In fact, we've not posted about it. We went out and celebrated, and we're gonna we celebrate with the clients. We're gonna go out and celebrate as a team, but we've not talked about that extensively on social media yet because there is a bit of a fear, I think, from our perspective. How will clients react to that sort of information? Whereas you're probably coming at it from potentially a bit of a different side, thinking, could that inspire other people to come and join us? Am I right?
Yeah, and I think that's probably why for me, I talk to, or as an avocado, we talk to different target audiences on different channels. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily share that one of the agents last month on their own did 73 grand's worth of bankings on our Instagram or our Facebook
Mm.
page, because there is an element of estate agents and clients on there, and it's not necessarily something that clients need to talk about. Whereas on LinkedIn, although I do get clients from LinkedIn, I'll happily talk about it on LinkedIn because I'm talking to estate agents on LinkedIn, and I want to show and inspire the opportunity that some people have. And yeah, I am fishing. There's no doubt about it. I'm out there fishing. I'm not going, oh yeah, the guy didn't bank anything in December or November. I don't know if he did or he didn't. I think he did. But as an example, I'm kind of going, look at this, like, because I think also there's part of it that because that's what we've created, and I've seen that people have done that, quite proud about it.
Absolutely right.
It's quite
Yeah.
a celebratory thing that it's like, wow, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, being able to earn annual salaries in months is a great achievement for anyone. And actually, people say that the business is the baby, and that's very much the case for many successful business owners because you put so much into it. So actually, to be able to create that opportunity for someone, and you should be proud of it. And you're right, you should be able to celebrate it in that right environment. I think that LinkedIn versus Facebook, Instagram content is the right sort of way to do it. But if people are being critical about not sharing the 0 months or the lower months, of course, it's social media. Nobody shares their bad moments on social media. And I think the more we can accept that, then the more actually you're well aware that if there isn't a super positive post, maybe it's not super positive. So I think we've got to take all of that with a pinch of salt, because everybody does that on social media, whether it's business, personal, family, whatever it might be. People are not sharing, or most people are not sharing the tougher moments, because it doesn't build the ego quite the same. It doesn't, I was gonna say it doesn't get the same reaction. Actually, it probably would get the same, if not a
No,
better reaction nowadays.
it actually gets a better reaction. It does. And I think with social media and you're posting, you have to almost think about it as if you've been asked to do a presentation to a room, say a room of 100 people, well, each room has got different people in it. So for me with LinkedIn, I visualize a room of 100 estate agents. So I'm talking to 100 estate agents. But if I stood at the front of that room and every Friday I did a presentation to that room, and it was all me, 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 we do this really well, and it was a bit show offy, people just going to walk out the room because they're not getting any value for coming back to the room. But if you can kind of in your head strategize and go, right, this is the next 4 pieces of value that I'm going to do. A bit like what we try and do with this podcast. We try and offer some value, and we have different guests that come on and help us with that. And then me and you sort of plan before and go, right, I think the listeners would really enjoy this topic of conversation. Sometimes it's educational, sometimes it's like this, where we're just discussing a subject sort of organically. But if I was to talk about things that we'd really struggled with and we'd sort of failed at, and this is how we got around it and worked, that's a lot more valuable to that audience than me standing there. Now, what it might mean is I might do 4 where I offer loads of value, an educational piece, a failure that we then succeeded on, some advice and things that actually fundamentally work. And then maybe I might say, and look, this is some of the successes, to just build a bit of trust, authority in the space. And also it's my opportunity. I'm giving my time away with the value to say, well, look, this is also what I do, and this is what we do really well. And I don't think that's bad. I think when you do it the other way around and you just sell, recruit, show off, I think that's where people kind of switch off and it becomes a bit much, maybe.
Yeah, you've got to deliver value, and it's interesting that you compare the podcast to your social media posts, and it is really interesting because I say it all the time. We do this because we enjoy it. I do it because I get quite a lot out of it personally and professionally, but actually it does allow a platform every now and again for you to promote something if you want to promote something. So if we view social media in the same way, and you can integrate talking about your successes and probably talking about the challenges as well within the value delivery, then actually you're probably more likely to reach the right sort of audience that you want to reach. But how many agents do you think are actually talking about those challenges?
I don't think many are. Well, bare bones them. But I also don't think many estate agents like themselves are talking to other estate agents on social media as well.
Yes.
I think there is some recruity stuff that goes on in general. And I think there are some of the same figureheads that, whether they're in a estate agency or prop tech or something else or some sort of coaching training, the actual estate agents on the ground, I don't think there's too many of them that talk to estate agents and share what they're going through, probably because they're busy, but they're not overly fussed. I mean, they're doing their marketing for clients. They're not necessarily doing their marketing for estate agents. So I think it's not intentional. I just don't think there's much of that goes on. I think the more case studies and the more successes, and not just showing a success, but how you got there. I think if we use like the Watkins kind of pie chart thing, obviously was a bit of a topical thing. He did really well in kind of creating a bit of a name for himself by being anti-pie chart. And we got a few people in our mastermind that love a pie chart.
Yeah.
But if we use that as an example, if you're going to share the pie chart, who's it for? Is it for the public? Is it for estate agents? Is it for you? And then are you sharing how you got there, or are you just showing it off? Because I think that makes a big difference. I think if you've got the pie chart and you listed the most houses that month, which is a bit of a shit one, but if it's like, I listed the most that month, okay, you did 26 and the next person did 7 or 17. what's the benefit of doing that and who's it for? Are you doing it because you're recruiting and you're like, come and join my team? We're expanding. Here's the evidence. And we need more successful people in our team to grow this market share even further. We want to stay number one for years to come and we want you to be part of it. Because that's a way that you could recruit and go, actually, I want to be part of that team because they're obviously going places and I just
Successful.
want their money. Yeah. Or is it to the public where it's, look, we list the most houses, so we have the most buyers, we have the most active and dynamic database of buyers, which means if you've got a property like one of these, we've already got the buyers and we're clearly trusted by most of the people in our town. So come and see what we're all about and give us a call. We'd love to try and help you as well. Oh, and we sold 75% of what we listed last month. So it's not just like we list it,
Yeah.
but we also do really well on sales. So it's the language that I think people get wrong. They just post it and go, oh, look, we're number one. We're the bollocks.
Yeah. It's an ego thing, but actually what you're talking about here in terms of social media strategy, whatever message that you're giving, is actually give some consideration to who you want to appeal to and why. Because I think that is the thing with the pie chart or with any money post or what have you. It's trying to stop the temptation to show off, to celebrate your achievements. Because, if you've listed the most houses, if you've banked an annual salary in a month, if you've sold the most houses, all of those things are achievements in a state agency. Whatever your aim is within your business, then one of those is going to be, a fairly significant achievement that as a team, you probably have a conversation and at least, pat each other on the back. To then try and do that on social media is very different because all you're doing, if you're not careful, is showing off without any real view to the results that you might get from it. So actually sitting down and, as you said, reference before with the presentation to a room analogy, if you sit down and actually plan out, right, so we've done this here, so how will it relate to the sellers in our area, or how can we make it more relatable to the sellers in our area? Well, we could do a video on how we actually did that month, or we get even more prepared, we do a video on this month and do it again, and then the video gets miles more hits than the actual just the right move picture that is, just showy offy and not relatable to very many clients. There will be some clients that it will relate to, no doubt, because some people will want to be with the agent with the most for sale boards. We always think that as an industry, people want sold boards, and of course they do, but actually the saying boards breed boards is a thing in agencies. I don't think the general public necessarily think about it in as much detail as we do, or we like to think that they do. So actually, if you can just sit down and explain why being top of that pie chart matters to your clients, like you said, then it's going to be a much more successful tool for you. Exactly the same way with the caps, exactly the same way with the two comma club. Those things are great achievements that should be celebrated, but if we're going to use them on social media, they should be used to benefit the business in whatever audience you wanted to talk to.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin was on our podcast, wasn't he, talking about, how he grew hunters. He was kind of very much talking about the boards breed boards mentality and the volume and the market share. And it's not my bag, but that's my business specifically and how I operate. But for most independents, if you're that high street agent or that town agent as your own business and you're sat there with your team of 4, that is the way that you do need to kind of make it profitable, because it is based a little bit around volume, but there's also a case of how do you talk to get more boards, and are they the right boards in the right areas, the right people? What's the value? That's a whole different marketing conversation. And I think, like you said there with the 2 comma club and stuff like that, we love that avocado. The blog that I wrote in the industry press about self-employed agents are now banking in a month annual salaries. If we were in the US, for example, and we were talking about it, that would be lauded. That would be like, wow, that's incredible, because they just love winning success. And I've actually got a good friend of mine, same age, went over to moved to America about 16 years ago with his dad and his family. His brother's out there now as well. And he was in like freight recruitment. So like, the kind of the freight stuff, the containers for ships and stuff. And in the end, he actually started his own recruitment business about a year before I started Avocado. And he came over and and he's a big Derby fan. We went and watched Derby last year
That must
together.
have been challenging.
Yeah, funnily enough, in the away end at Oxford, bumped into Paul Jameson. It was like, he's like, "Are you a Derby fan?" I was like, "No, no, no. This is the most random thing." State agents get everywhere, but the one thing that he said to me about his business is in America they're so passionate about other people being successful. But even though he's English, they want his business to be successful, and they really do empower that. Whereas, how we talk in the UK versus America is a bit different because we kind of really love an underdog in the UK, and we almost love to sit like if you take a boxer, we like Anthony Joshua, the young guy, big guy going in, like being in prison, and we want him to kind of do really well. And then when he's successful, it's like, nah, and don't get that guy. Don't like that guy. We see it with footballers, you see it with athletes, and it's very difficult to kind of stay at the top in the UK and be celebrated at the top as well. So I think how you talk about it is really important. But I do think more people should talk about it. I think people should, you had your record month in May as a business. You've decided that the people you want to celebrate that with is your circle. So you've taken your circle out and you've celebrated it together. And you've kind of almost gone, this is my army. These are the people it means the world to. We're going to celebrate it together. No one else really needs to know. And we're going to be better for that meal, that celebration the next day. And that's like a really cool thing to do. Does it need to go on socials? We shared it on this podcast, but does it need to go on socials? Maybe not. Is if it's not something that you want to talk about and share, because it doesn't need to. But you might talk about one little success that came from it, that was a result in how that happened, because you're like, do you know what? I didn't expect this to happen, and it did. And I think our industry would be better for hearing how that happened, whatever that thing may be. So that's my view.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. There's the UK versus US idea, and how we celebrate success and how we approach success and all of that. That actually relates to then how we talk about it. So we shouldn't be almost afraid to put our successes on social media, because actually I'd like to think that if we're successfully selling the highest value homes and breaking records, then other people will think that actually that's a good thing for we want to work with that business because they sell this type of home and they break records in this this area. That should be something that I always sit back and think, that should be something that clients want. I'm really proud of our stats on how many houses we sell, the percentage of asking price we achieve particularly. And I want people to think that when they buy a house from Moving Works, it would cost them more than if they bought it from a rival estate agent.
Yeah.
Some of my colleagues in the business are a bit scared of that stat because they think, well, no one will want to buy houses from us. Well, people buy houses because they like the house. They don't care about the estate agent they buy from most of the time. So actually, those should be the things that we are celebrating. But if as a country we celebrated people's success and built each other up more, then those conversations would be more widely taking place. Because I think our fear is that we say we're doing so well, someone will knock us. Someone's going to knock you anyway, is the fact. Someone will knock us, or clients will look at it and think they don't need our business, or they won't value our business, or whatever it is. But you are exactly right. As a country, we like to knock people down when they're on top, and it's a horrible trait, really. I love it when some of our friends or what have you, if they've had a success at work, I genuinely. And they don't have to be a friend, or they could just be somebody that you just met. When other people are having success, it gives me a nice feeling. I would hate to be one of those people that started to get annoyed when other people were successful. I don't understand it, if I'm being perfectly honest.
I think it's something that I think there's a moment in life where it just switches. I think there's something about being like, I don't know, a young, ambitious. I'll talk for guys. I can only talk for guys. In your early 20s, you got into agency. You're flash suit, it's competitive, there's league tables, you hate the rival agents.
Yeah.
It's just something in, you're full of testosterone. Thursday night, student night, you're coming in Friday hungover, but you're still going to smash that Friday and then you're going to go back out Friday. Like, it's just something in that phase where it's like, we hate everyone and we love everyone, like depending on whether it suits us. But then you start a business, you start a family, you settle down, you start to look at things, you become a little bit wiser, you get a bit more education yourself. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm not fussed about the people that don't really like what I'm doing. And I'm a bit more kind of about what I'm about. So everything else is kind of irrelevant. And Mike talks about the camera stuff with a new agent when they join and they're like, I'm a bit nervous about the camera side of things. And Mike always says, it took me 4 months to get my head around the fact that Ian kept shoving a camera in my face, to the point that Ian would just sit me down in a chair, press live on Facebook and say, right, we're live. What are we going to talk about, Mike? And he wouldn't even know that I was going live on Facebook. But what triggered was he just went, I don't give a shit what people think that I went to school with 10 years ago, because I know this is right for the business. And once you get that in your head, everything else is a lot easier. I saw a thing the other day that said, I don't act on revenge, I just delete people. And I think I was like, I quite like that. Because, when you've gone through the things where you've had difficult stuff in the past, it's a hell of a lot easier just to delete.
Block.
Yeah. Otherwise, they're living rent free in your head, as Eddie Hearn says. But yeah, I think going back to the thing, I think celebrating wins that you've worked for, that you've worked really hard for, especially if you've had 5 years leading up to it, or 5 months leading up to it, or whatever it may be.
Because it's not overnight. No. These people that are earning these annual salaries have put in hard graft, worked hard in a good system. It's probably a bit of luck over the way. Sorry to interrupt, but it's not these things that people see. There's no silver bullet. This is hard work that's gone on over a long period of time, which actually means it should be celebrated more, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the journey of the celebration, because you're a better person for getting to that moment and seeing the reward of it. But those successes, they're built in our brain of how we got there. So habitually, we're just a better person for the result. We spoke right at the start about running and my frustrations with my injury. And you were kind of like, will you run that race? And I'll run that race because I've run it. If it was my first ever attempt at a 100K race, I probably wouldn't. I'd bottle it because I wouldn't know what to do. But I've run not that level of mountain race, but I've run races now. So I know how to handle certain things when it's difficult and not to push the body at a certain level, because I've had successes before and I've had failures before. So it's going to help me in that moment, if I am okay to run, even though I won't be at fitness level, to go and do it. But if I wasn't, I wouldn't. And I think, sometimes for us, it's those lessons that we learn in the journey getting to it. It's the cliche, isn't it? It's like the journey, not the destination. But it's more the lessons, not the reward, that really is the stuff that I think offers a lot of value for sharing.
One of the most powerful lessons that I learned when we set up Love to Move, so we launched the online agency business on Valentine's Day 2017. And this always sticks with me in that we launched it on the 14th. And as I was going to bed on the 13th, bit excited, we got some industry press. There was a article that went out on Facebook. One of the, I don't know whether it was industry or local news, ran it early. And the first comment, before we'd even launched the business, the first comment was someone just having a dig, basically. And I was really pissed off at the time and quite upset about it. But when I look back, I think actually that taught me quite a valuable lesson. And a quote that I've heard that I really like on the haters. Yours is a really good point about you can just delete them now. It's it's never been easier. Is if you're not creating hate, you're not creating impact. So all of these celebrations and any post on social media has the potential to create a little bit of hate, but also be aware that you're going to get it anyway. Even if you're being negative or if you're being real or whatever it is, any post on social media, the world that we live in gives people an opportunity to have a dig. So don't not do it because you're worried about that. So if you are celebrating successes, don't think about the negativity in terms of somebody's going to have a pop, because they're probably going to have a pop anyway. That's more on them than it is on you. Delete them and take the view that, well, actually, I am creating impact because I've created hate. It's a horrible world that we live in, but actually, that is more of the thing. Is money a dirty word? Well, we don't think it is, but I'm sure some people do. But no matter what you do when you're putting it out on social media, you are giving someone an opportunity to have a pop.
Yeah, yeah. And the troll thing, the kind of comments and stuff like that. At the start, I was exactly the same. I was like, wow, this sucks. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, especially in your early days, when you haven't banked anything or whatever, and you're like, come on now, like this is my business. I remember when we got our first negative Google review, like it was just a spam bot. It wasn't even a person. Like they weren't on our database. It wasn't connected. It didn't even make sense, the Google review. Yeah. But I was like, that hurt me so bad to take the 5-star rating down. I was devastated by it. I was like, and I couldn't get it off. I was like, that was really painful. But now I see a troll, especially on the public one, not the estate agency one, and I just love it. It's like just a perfect opportunity to show how clever you are in terms of how you respond to it and how personal you are. And I just think they're absolutely brilliant. In fact, talking about the industry, I got a friend of mine who's going to start his own estate agency in the next couple of months, and we were having a chinwag about it. And he said, like, what do I, a lot of this stuff is new, different stuff. He's not been a business owner before. And I said, you'll be surprised, actually, coming from like an independent estate agent as an employed estate agent, starting your own business. I said, you'll be surprised how receptive our industry is for what you're about to do. Like how many good people there are that will give you their ear and give you their time in the industry up and down the country that you don't even know. If you get into the groups and you go to a mastermind or some of the conferences and stuff, and you just talk to people, our industry is like really embracing for someone that's trying to build something and start. Like there are some phenomenal people up and down the country, hundreds of them.
Yes. Yeah.
Just, share some valuable time and help you. And that's the best thing that you can ask for in an industry. There is the other negative side of it and the jealousy and stuff like that. But one thing we are great at as a country and as an industry is to help someone get off the ground,
Yes.
That's quite a nice place to kind of be as well, knowing that the industry is that. It did it for me. I left where I was, cut all ties, deleted people ultimately, like we talk about, had to start a total new circle, new contacts, new agents, and it was very embracing to me as someone that hadn't really embraced the industry previously, because that's what we were built to do. It was us versus the world, sort of back in the day.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that complete switch from corporate to just running your own business. But you are right. The Facebook groups in particular, I'd spent quite a lot of time in lockdown on them, and there was a lot of support being thrown around, particularly around that time. I don't do quite as much nowadays, but there are some great people, as you say, who will give you advice, that have made those. You talked about the running, having those failures, and then being able to know how to overcome it. Whereas actually, you could get a professional mentor through Agents Giving, is it?
Yeah.
You can get a professional mentor through that in more of like a official mentorship.
Agents Together, I think, isn't it? Agents Together.
Yeah, Agents Together, yeah. Or you can actually just reach out and get loads of people's comments on some of those Facebook groups. So yeah, it is. And I think we're getting better at that as an industry. I don't think it's always been like that, but now we've got the format with social media to be able to do that. So if you are thinking about this, you can actually, should I take those steps? Those groups is a great place to start, just to try and get some advice. You'll get some selling stuff as well, of course, but it's a great place to start and get advice from people who've maybe been in that same position that you've been in.
And you've got over 250 episodes on this that you could listen to. And
hey, this will be almost 300 now.
Here we go. Yeah.
We're getting there. And as you know, we do this because we love our industry. We want to see it improve and get better. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please share it out on social media. Today's episode has been sponsored by Iceberg Digital. Thank you to Mark and their team for their support. I'm Mark Worrell. He's Ian Macbeth. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you again next week.